Powered by Go Goat Sports and in partnership with TSN. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American listeners and followers. This is season 4. It is episode 18 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, and it is presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. If you are watching us here on YouTube, there you can see Ray Ferraro. A little bit dark. Wouldn't call it dingy, but you've made it to Cologne, Germany. And in episode 17, we talked a little bit about, and I wasn't hoping that you were going to go through some distress or, issues with travel.
Yeah, you were. You were kind of secretly kind of hoping. You were.
I mean, there was some get off the plane, get to the airport, get onto a train stuff that I thought was going to challenge you, but yet no. I mean, you were expert in your execution of all of this.
I was actually, I still checked my ticket on the train 12 times till I actually sat on it.
Yeah.
And then once it started moving, I'm like, okay, I know I'm going in the right direction here. So, I left home and flight over, jumped on a train from Frankfurt to Cologne, and Landon picked me up at the train station, and they play tomorrow night. So I'm looking forward to seeing them for the first time in 4 years, and just had dinner here with him and his wife, Emily. And so great to start to catch up. I'm looking forward to a good week here.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I know you will, family. We do episode 18 with a bit of a dark cloud hanging over the hockey world, right? And that is because of the passing of the king, Borje Salming, which happened earlier today. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon here in Canada. It's evening in Germany, as Ray just identified. And there's so many ways we could go with this, Ray. I think the outpouring of emotion, which we talked about in the last episode from Hall of Fame weekend on Friday and Saturday, and then that followed up with the celebration in Sweden where Borje was deservedly front and center. It felt like he was saying goodbyes in North America when he was on the ice and he was part of the Hall of Fame celebrations. And it felt like that based on what I saw in the celebration in Sweden. I mean, we could go on for 3 hours and not cover the life of Borje Salming. But, I mean, I'm curious. I had so many interactions with Borje, media to player to Hall of Famer, all of that. And every single one of them are memorable because he made them memorable. He was just such a nice man, but fiery personality and competitor. And, of course, of your days of playing and whatnot, does that basically put it in a package, the type of dynamic, but yet just fiercely competitor individual he was?
Well, it does, and I would add that there was no where or game or place that his presence wasn't bigger than himself. And it's not so much that he was trying to drag attention. That wasn't it. He just did. He just there was something magnetic about his personality. And then the way he played and the way that he literally fought for his space here in North America. And as much as we can talk about it, I look at the way the Swedish players look up and talk about the legend that Borje built in his career and his life, not just his hockey career, but his life as well. I mean, it was heartbreaking to watch, at the All-Star weekend. And I'm glad he and his family were able to see how much he was literally loved and adored and respected. And just it was sad news to see it come across.
Yeah, I mean, rest in peace, Borje. And I in a weird way, from the Hall of Fame weekend forward here, I look forward to the outpouring of the tributes, and we'll do our best here on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, social media threads that we have to present as much of that as we can. TSN.ca will have that as well. So tough day in the hockey community with the passing of Borje Salming. To move on to the rest of the league, Ray, we'll do it in headlines. Again, this year presented by our good pals at Boston Pizza. Speaking of Borje, the Toronto Maple Leafs playing good hockey right now. Yeah, they're dealing with adversity with the loss of Morgan Riley, and the injury bug is taking its toll on the Leafs. But they come together against the New Jersey Devils in what was a weird game. You probably didn't get to see a ton of it because you were traveling, but the Devils streak is stopped at 13. And I say weird because anybody who watched it, there were 3 disallowed goals, 2 for goalie interference, 1 because Eric Holla directed the puck into the net with his skate. That had Devils fans absolutely fuming, which is amusing until they start throwing stuff on the ice and it's hitting players and it becomes a dangerous environment. I mean, we haven't seen that in a long time. Here's hoping we don't see it ever again in the National Hockey League, but just one of those kind of combustible situations.
Yeah, it's a real scary place when things start flying out of the stands and you're on the ice. There's nowhere to go. You can't see where anything's coming from. When I was playing in Portland in the Western Hockey League, we played in the old building in Seattle, which was an absolute zoo. It had chicken wire fence, like instead of glass. So the fans, like you'd be standing there, the fans would literally throw beer through the fencing onto you as you're standing there.
Nice.
I mean, and then like there was stuff flying on the ice all over the place, and you just never felt safe in there. It gets out of hand. It becomes a mob mentality, and it's dangerous. Like, you could throw anything on the ice, and the potential for danger is there. Right? Like it doesn't have to be something hard. It could be almost anything. If somebody steps on it, it's, if they don't clean it up or get it all off the ice, it becomes a danger. Dregs, we played a game. I was with Hartford and we were in Quebec, and Kerry Fraser was officiating, and he called a bunch of penalties late in the third period on the Nordiques. And I don't know what the hell they did, but I think they opened up a supply closet. There were literally hundreds of rolls of toilet paper thrown on the ice, and it would hit and then unravel.
It would kind of hurt.
and so we're watching it. We're like, what the hell is going on? And so they eventually just canceled the game with just, less than a minute left. But what was happening yesterday, that's dangerous. It's stupid because the potential for injury is there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it forces the National Hockey League to do something knee-jerk, right? I mean, you talk with your security people, you find out, okay, did we do enough? And I think the answer is yes. I mean, you can only stop it to a point. But the league, pro sport in general, does good things when it comes to incidents like this because they have internal conversations and they strategize and they try and figure out ways to prevent it from happening again. So we'll see if there's any form of aftermath. A couple of small trades I want your opinion on, because small trades don't always end up being small trades. The Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Connor Timmins from Arizona. No shock, given the history of Timmins, right? A former Sioux Greyhound. So that's right on there on the list of criteria that Kyle Dubas holds near and dear to his heart. Given an opportunity, I don't know if you've seen enough of Connor Timmins at the NHL level to ascertain what he's going to be, but I did a bit of reading today, and some who know him well, dating back to the OHL days, talk about how good a defenseman he potentially will be, terrific in exiting the puck out of his own zone, all of that. Worth the risk, right? When you're giving up a piece that isn't going to fit into your plan moving forward.
Now, I haven't seen Timmins play at the NHL level. He's had concussion issues that have plagued him throughout his career. But when he was on the World Junior team, he was really good. Like, he was a well thought after prospect. I think second round pick by Colorado out of the draft, and then he just never got untracked. And so he's kind of lost his way through really no fault of his own, just through injury. I don't mind this trade at all. I mean, if you're looking that maybe there's lightning here, like maybe you get a player
Yeah.
that can play. It's not like he's never played in the NHL before. He just hasn't stayed healthy enough to build any kind of resume to see what he would be like at this level. I was trying to think today. In the mid '80s, the Leafs drafted every first round pick out of Belleville, I think, and it was
I
one.
think you're right. I think
Yeah,
you're right.
and it's like, is that where the whole scouting department was? Where did they just live in Belleville, or like what the hell was going on there? And now, if there's an ex Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound floating around, that chances are he's ending up in Toronto. So I hope for Timmins' sake that he can get his feet under him. I mean, he's had a real hard
Yeah.
road through really no fault of his own.
Right. And Leafs fans shouldn't be confused by this. I mean, he's a depth add. If he plays his way into a higher role, then good for Connor Timmins and good for the Maple Leafs. But Kyle Dubas is still going to continue to work the market. You know, he needs some more significant upgrade.
Well, and the other thing, Drake,
Ryan Reeves.
Sorry, Drake, just to touch one thing is aside from cap issues, which are the same for almost everybody, is they're at 50 contracts. So they're in a tough spot in Toronto. Like player has to go out. Aside from the money, player has to go out because you're only allowed 50 contracts. So the challenges are great right now for them.
Friend of the podcast, Billy Guerin, swinging a deal, acquiring some size, some personality, obvious toughness, and Ryan Reeves from the New York Rangers. Reeves going to the Minnesota Wild. And I'm always amused by the opinion and the aftermath of a deal like this, right? Some who are quick to jump out and say, oh, geez, well, why didn't our team get in on that? A 5th-round draft pick. Are you kidding me? Like, this team could have used Ryan Reeves. This team could have used Ryan Reeves. And then you've got the others that say, geez, I'm surprised they even got a 5th for him. I mean, the word was the Rangers were going to put him on waivers in a week. We don't know any of that. But what we know is that Billy Guerin has history with Ryan Reeves and obviously likes him enough and what he's going to bring to the Wild that makes it a worthwhile experiment.
Well, yes. I mean, so you got to remember, like last year when the Wild took that big leap, one of the things was a great strength of theirs was they were really hard to play against. They were physical. They had a 4th line. Well, they had that 3rd line with Greenway, Eriksson Ek, and Foligno, and they were good, and they're big. Like, they're big. Yeah. Then they had Brandon Duhaime was on their 4th line. He's been hurt. Foligno's been hurt. Greenway's been hurt. They lose Ryan Hartman, who had a great year, 30-plus goals, but just an agitating guy to play against. So they're clearly trying to build, again, add on to that type of game. Now, I've seen Reeves a couple of times this year, and I don't know exactly if the pace is something that's favorable to him. I mean, and the other thing is you probably find less and less volunteers to fight him. I mean, like, there are not very many guys that are around that are going to want to even attempt that. So I'll be interested to see what Minnesota does. I mean, they had a little cap space because they've cleared some out. They've got some guys that Hartman in particular can go on LTIR. They lose Tyson Jost on waivers, so that's a little more cap room. So they're kind of moving some deck chairs around to see if they can find a stride a little bit better.
Let's go to Vancouver. All right, we have spanked and kicked around the Vancouver Canucks with good reason for much of this podcast season. But a nice win last night against the defending Stanley Cup champion Avalanche. They scored 2 1/3 to beat the Avs, which is significant because the third has been a weak spot for the Vancouver Canucks this year. Bo Horvat with another big effort, second in time on ice, only behind Quinn Hughes. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I mean, he seemed more engaged than we've seen him. Pettersson, he looked good all around. I mean, it's something, isn't it? It's something. It's something that the market can kind of just relax a little bit. I mean, it's not to say that they're heading in a completely different direction for the rest of this year, but it's something.
It is. I mean, they lose to Vegas with another 2-goal lead on Monday. and then they go to Colorado. I mean, geez, that's a pretty tough week, and
Yeah.
you got to give a check mark here to Spencer Martin, who is, they picked him up off the scrap heap in
Right.
Colorado last year, and he was in the American League, and they gave him a late season chance. And man, all credit to him. He took the ball and turned it into an NHL deal, and he's been terrific this year for them. So you go into Colorado, and I know Colorado's banged up. And by the way, their record with the amount of people out of the lineup is really quite remarkable. Like significant pieces out of that
Yeah.
lineup. But Vancouver goes in, and Horvat's had an amazing start. This is the Pettersson that I thought I saw in his rookie season, the one that reminded me a little bit of Pavel Datsyuk, and
Nice.
they get a win. And man, just to breathe a little bit. But how about this? I'm looking at the standings. They got 17 points in Vancouver. It's been a tire fire for parts of the season, and Edmonton's got 20 points. Like, they're not far from what a playoff spot might look like. How's that all going to play out? I don't know. Bo Horvat's not going to score like this the rest of the season, but if they can, I mean, the whole key for them is, can they find a way to defend well enough to let their offense carry the load, because they're going to score. They've got enough people to score.
I was going to touch on this in insider trading tonight being Thursday, but out of respect to Boreas Salming and his passing, we've just decided that we're going to focus on the tribute on TSN. So we're not doing insider trading, but curious speculation around Bo Horvat, and we understand it, because there hasn't been a contract extension. It seems relatively quiet on that front. So that in and of itself fuels the speculation of trade, but I know Vancouver wants to keep him. I mean, they recognize his value. They can see the type of character he is. And to your point, okay, he's not gonna go wire to wire with this level of offense, but they've seen enough to know that he's an interesting and a needed piece moving forward. So we in the media, I'm not looking at you, Ray, I'm looking at me, and I'm looking at others. We got to pump the brakes on the speculation. Just because the negotiation hasn't concluded to this point, maybe even hasn't started with any sense of vigor to this point, doesn't mean they're shopping him. I know they're not shopping him, and I know they want to keep him now in Vancouver. So I was going to share that in Insider Trading.
Yeah,
instead I shared here.
Every day until there is a contract done or a trade made, it's always going to be talked about. I mean, the one thing I would say you have to be careful of is if you don't think your team is good enough, and you sign Bo Horvat to 8 years times 7, if that's the number, then you've basically got the same team, and you've just paid Bo Horvat more money. And so you have to find a way to change the team outside of Horvat's deal, if that's what they're going to do. So it's it's amazing to watch. It's like he literally scores every game. It's unbelievable.
I know.
And so he is
unreal. I'm happy for him, though. He's one of those guys. I'm happy the puck is going in for him and he's playing this well.
He is. He's done everything that they could ask, everything that they could hope for.
Yeah.
He's done. And where that leads, what the next couple months are going to tell us.
Yeah, a couple more in headlines, then we'll move on. Your thoughts on Dallas, man. I mean, new coach Pete DeBoer, we know, is an excellent coach. No surprise there. Goaltending has been good.
Yeah.
The old cliche, their best players are contributing like top players do. That's helping the Dallas Stars. But have you seen enough to know they're going to be a force, not just in the West, but maybe in the league this year, Ray?
Well, Jake Ottinger gave you no choice but to stand up and take notice of him last year in the playoffs. Heiskanen's a tremendous player. Jason Robertson's on an amazing run right now, coming off a 40-goal year. But what about Jamie Benn kind of finding a little youth a little jump in his
Bit of
legs.
renaissance. Bit of renaissance.
Yeah, it's it becomes really interesting. A different style of play, a different approach to the game. Much like Bruce Cassidy took a different style to Vegas, Jim Montgomery took a different style to Boston, Pete DeBoer took a different style to Dallas. Sometimes it's just the right thing. How about every year, every June, we go to the draft or we watch the draft, and these nameless kids outside of the first round, like we don't know who most of them are. They just get drafted. And you're like, oh, I heard that guy's a good prospect. This guy's a good prospect. The Dallas draft with Miro Heiskanen also included Jason Robertson and Jake Ottinger. Same draft.
Not bad.
Hello. It's almost like the last draft that Al Murray had with the Los Angeles Kings. His parting gift was Anze Kopitar and Jonathan Quick. And so these guys get drafted, and you don't know how they're going to turn out.
Ridiculous.
And here they are. So Dallas is starting to make me go, geez, I got to start watching them a little closer. I got a game coming up in Dallas. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Thoughts on Shane Wright? I mean, we pay attention nationally because the kid goes fourth overall and was touted as going first overall until he didn't go first overall. But he scores his first professional goal in the American Hockey League as the Seattle Kraken scratched him for 5 times, which then allowed him to send him to the AHL on a conditioning stint. Nice goal, too. But
really
he'll get loaned to Team Canada. Yeah, he'll get loaned to Team Canada for the World Junior Championship. And then you wonder, well, what happens after that? And feel bad for the kid because he's stuck in that gray area, right? You and I are strong supporters of the Canadian Hockey League. We want the best available players playing in the CHL. But there comes a place where, a player needs to also push his development. And with all due respect to Kingston, or if he gets traded in the OHL, it doesn't feel like that's the right place for Shane Wright. But the press box in Seattle isn't the right place for Shane Wright either.
Well, I know that's not the right place for sure. Like that, every time I hear a coach or a manager say, "Oh, he's learning at practice and being around the NHL team, the only thing that he's learning is that his paycheck is way better." Because what do you think he's thinking? Game after game after game. He's just finished practice. He's just finished the morning skate. He does a bag skate. Then he goes to the gym. It's like, this sucks. I mean, I'm sure those kids love being in the NHL, but it sucks. It's just not the right place for them. The one thing about the NHL that has always kind of interested me is that they're not very open to exceptions. It's like, this is the rule and there's no exception. Like, what if each team was allowed one player, just one, to jump to the American League? Not first rounders in case a team has 3 of them, just one player. Kind of like the exceptional status in major junior hockey. What if there was an exception that a drafted player could go off your salary cap? Just open up some options. So Shane Wright's stuck. I mean, like, he's going back to junior's not the best place for him, but I do know sitting around and not playing, that will get old in a hurry.
No doubt about that. Those are your headlines. Thank you to our good friends at Boston Pizza.